I love the NBA. I do. Celtics are my second favorite team in sports. First Celtic game I ever went to, I met Larry Bird before it, and I've always liked the NBA because of it, even though there's been a lot of change over the years. And we've gotten to a point now where players truly have all the power. In a way, it's cool, but it has its drawbacks. And over the last couple of years, we've really gotten to a ridiculous point with NBA players demanding that fans get ejected. And we never know 100% the reason that fans get ejected. We just hear the player side of the story afterwards. We don't usually hear the fans who were kicked out. We don't usually hear from the fans who were sitting around. Notable people who have had fans ejected: LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and after the fact, you generally hear blah, 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 blah. He said something about my family. And that's a great shield. Trying to gain sympathy, whether justified or unjustified, by bringing up your family or mental health gives you a carte blanche to essentially what I'm feeling is right and true. Be on my side. It's the way it works in 2024. I don't write the rules. It's just an observation I'm making. But Luka Doncic took it too far last night in an area where it already has been taken too far. Luka Doncic, during a Mavericks-Suns game, with the Mavericks really struggling, heard a fan say, "Get your ass on the treadmill," per the reporting of ESPN's Tim McMahon. And I guess there also was some profanity directed at him from the crowd. Profanity at a sporting event where people are paying hundreds of dollars to sit that close to the point where you would actually be able to hear the profanity? Freedom of speech, not a thing in the NBA. But Doncic had this fan removed. Then after the game, ESPN's Tim McMahon asked him about the incident, and Doncic got very, very salty.
When you said about the fan, that was not a true all. That was not the only thing he said. But I knew you would be the first one to point out something like that. I'm not going to say what he said, but I knew you were going to be the first one to put out something like that. So I just saw it, man. It's just funny. You always seem to be the first one to put some bad stuff about me.
First of all, 99% of the stuff I've written about you has been good.
I don't know.
I was sitting 2 rows behind us.
All right, so it was the only thing that time he said something, the only thing?
That was what you reacted to.
Yeah, I was hearing the whole first half, right? Oh, you didn't hear anything?
He was definitely hollering.
Okay, there we go. But you put out something that was just the only thing. But
what was the final straw? What was the final issue? What was the thing that?
It's not the issue. I'm just seeing you seems to be the first one to always put something bad about me.
Several of us actually tweeted that.
That's fine. It's all over.
Why did you ask for the fan to be ejected?
Because he was cursing me the whole first half too.
You would think someone from the Balkans would be a little tougher given what happens at games that take place in Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia. You ever seen those? There's flares being lit, flares being thrown on the court. I'm not even sure if they're allowed to drink at these games, and they're still having a rowdy old time.
Yeah, those go viral, it feels like twice a year. We get a good video of, look at this.
Yeah. Their basketball fans go harder than hard. And, as someone who used to participate in a little thing called Yacht Week, the captain on my boat in Croatia was an ex-hooligan for a Croatian soccer team called the Great Whites. He had 4 stab wounds on his chest from that. These people, don't F around. But now all of a sudden, someone's saying you need to get on a treadmill. Probably true. Someone saying that is enough to make you want to kick that guy out. Profanity, there's profanity all over the place during an NBA game. Sometimes it's a profanity shouted in exasperation. Other times it is directed at players, and that does suck. If you're sitting around that, do you want to hear that? Forget about the players. That does ruin the fan experience a little bit if it's not creative. Creative trash talk, though, is great. And saying that the guy needs to get on a treadmill, that is one way to get under the guy's skin. That's how this thing works. Fans are supposed to be allowed to do that. But we've gotten to a point where all of a sudden this isn't the case anymore. And it makes basketball players so unlikable. And it's not an isolated incident. If it was an isolated incident, great. But it's not. It feels like this happens once a week where a player gets a fan ejected. I hate it. And it makes them almost impossible to like, these players. Hell, totally different subject, but how about Giannis Antetokounmpo all of a sudden doing a bit of a heel turn? I saw a report on ESPN about the firing of Adrian Griffin. They've hired Doc Rivers, paying him 3 years, $40 million now, straight out of the broadcast booth. By the way, can we get Jeff Van Gundy back in the booth? No, we're not going to do that. We were fine with Mark Jackson, but no Jeff Van Gundy. Giannis, in a interview with the media, said that he was surprised that Adrian Griffin was fired. Are you effing kidding me? He was surprised? He orchestrated this. And look, there were some issues clearly with the Bucks to open the year. I know the record is good, but ask any Bucks fan and they will tell you the defensive issues were many. And trying to get Damian Lillard to care on defense, and also trying to get Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo to figure out how to run an offense when Lillard's been doing it on his own his whole career and Giannis has been doing it for such a long time. Like, there's a lot of things that were difficult for them to overcome. So I don't know, maybe don't fire Mike Budenholzer. But remember, this is the same Bucks team that just fired Mike Budenholzer because he was perhaps a little bit too intense. Now they bring in this guy and they fire him as well. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is saying he's surprised that he was fired, even though not too long ago, 20 days ago or so, Giannis, after a 112-108 loss to the Rockets, asked this: what is our strategy? Are we going to give a lot of open threes? Are we going to let them get in the paint? When they go in the post, are we going to stay with ours and play one-on-one? What is our strategy? Right now, we are giving everything. We are giving the threes. We are letting guys play in the post and get comfortable. We're giving offensive rebound, blah, blah, blah. He's calling out coaching there. He's calling out coaching. And then you see this giant piece from Verona Shelburne and another ESPN reporter, this expose of what was really going on in the Bucks locker room less than 24 hours after the firing happened. How do you think they got all this information? Where do you think they got it from? With all that, it's a long piece. How did they have all of that ready to go? With specific moments highlighted where Giannis was frustrated with coaching. But Giannis is acting like he's surprised by this. In the same year where he's getting mad about scoring 62 points and not getting to keep the ball from the game after it. These guys are such spoiled babies to the general public. And even if we got to know them, I'm sure we get to like them. Giannis has always seemed so damn likable, but even he's starting to wear thin. This act that like you didn't know that the guy was going to get fired. You made it happen. Just be honest and say he wasn't good enough. We need a better coach. We need to head in a different direction. No NBA player will ever do that. And now, on top of that, they're throwing fans out left and right from the game when they're paying hundreds of dollars to go. It sucks. I love the NBA. Players are becoming more and more unlikable. Tell me I'm wrong.